Happy birthday, Benito! On March 10, 1994, the legend was born in Vega Baja. Every year, without fail, celebrity birthdays on the internet follow the exact same predictable script. Artist turns another year older, fans flood the comments with heart emojis, the celebrity drops a humble, "grateful for all the love" caption underneath a photo where they somehow look better than most people do at their absolute peak. Maybe a cake, maybe a candid, maybe a carefully staged casual shot that took 3 photographers and a lighting team to produce. Wholesome. Safe, completely forgettable by the next morning. And then there is Bad Bunny, who looked at his 32nd birthday, looked at the entire established tradition of the celebrity birthday post, looked at the concept of playing it safe and keeping it tasteful, and chose violence. Deliberate, calculated, fully conscious violence. What Benito delivered to the internet for his 32nd birthday was not a thank you caption. It was not a reflection post. It was not a montage of career highlights set to an emotional piano track. It was a collection of photos so aggressively attractive that people across multiple time zones had to put their phones down and collect themselves before they could form a coherent response. And the timing of it, the specific moment in his career when he decided to do this, is honestly the most suspicious part of the whole situation. Shh, turn the volume up, but keep it low. This is rap deepest secrets, the one place the labels can't control, exposing the codes, the cover-ups, the real cost of fame. Help us to monetization by subscribing. Now, back to the video. Because here is the context that most birthday posts don't come with. Bad Bunny did not turn 32 as a regular person turns 32. He turned 32 as someone who just completed one of the most absurd 12-month runs in the history of modern music and pop culture simultaneously. Let's go through it slowly, because people keep treating these things as separate events when they are actually one continuous, escalating story. He took home 3 Grammy Awards. 3! Not 1, which would already be significant, not 2, which would have been a career-defining moment for most artists. 3! In a single year, at a ceremony that the mainstream music industry still occasionally looks at reggaeton sideways, and he walked out with 3. Then, as if that wasn't enough of a statement, Bad Bunny went to a Yankees versus Blue Jays playoff game and made headlines not for being there, but for what he did during God Bless America. He sat down, while everyone around him stood, in a stadium full of cameras, on a national broadcast, during one of the most watched sporting moments of that stretch of the season. He sat, calmly, unbothered, completely aware of exactly what he was doing and exactly what conversation it would start. And it started that conversation immediately. That is not an accident. That is not a spontaneous decision made in the moment. That is someone who understands the weight of their platform and chooses, intentionally, precisely, how to use it. But even that wasn't the headline of his year, because then came the Super Bowl. Super Bowl LX halftime show, the stage that every artist in the world wants, the performance slot that gets discussed for decades, the moment that defines legacies and rewrites careers and gets replayed at every future awards show retrospective for the next 30 years. Bad Bunny stood on that stage and performed primarily in Spanish. Read that again slowly if it didn't land the first time. The Super Bowl halftime show, the most watched musical performance in American television history, performed primarily in Spanish. That had never happened before, not once, Not ever. And he didn't ease into it. He didn't hedge. He didn't open in English to warm the audience up and then sneak Spanish in around the edges, hoping nobody would notice. He showed up as exactly who he is, in the language he has always sung in, on the biggest stage the music industry has to offer. And the world watched. And the world reacted. And the records were broken anyway. So this is who turned 32. Not a regular celebrity. Not someone coasting on one big hit from 3 years ago. Not an artist who peaked and is now carefully managing their decline. A man who just completed a year so dense with cultural impact that most artists couldn't replicate it across an entire decade. And how did he celebrate? By posting photos that sent the internet into a full system shutdown. Now here is where this gets genuinely interesting, and also slightly suspicious, because nothing Bad Bunny does is ever just surface level, and that includes his birthday content.
Think about the deliberateness of the timing. He has spent the last year making very loud, very serious statements about language, about identity, about what it means to be Puerto Rican on the world's biggest stages, about sitting down when the room expects you to stand, about refusing to shrink. Heavy stuff, important stuff, career-defining stuff. And then on his birthday, he posts thirst trap content so effective that people forgot what they were upset about online for approximately 48 hours. That is not a coincidence. That is a man who understands the full spectrum of his own power, the political, the cultural, and yes, the very personal, and deploys each one at exactly the right moment. The Grammys showed his artistry. The Super Bowl showed his cultural weight. The stadium moment showed his principles. And the birthday photos? Those showed something else entirely, something that the serious cultural commentary tends to skip over because it doesn't fit neatly into the narrative. They showed that Bad Bunny is also, genuinely, spectacularly, almost unfairly, good-looking. And he knows it, and he is completely unbothered about letting the entire internet know that he knows it. If you are still watching this right now, and if the combination of Grammy wins, Super Bowl history, political stadium moments, and birthday photos has your brain trying to process exactly what kind of artist and human being Bad Bunny actually is, then you are in exactly the right place. Hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists for exactly this kind of breakdown, not just the headlines, not just the viral moments, but the full picture, the pattern underneath it all that reveals who someone actually is when you zoom out far enough to see the whole thing. Bad Bunny's 32nd birthday is not just a birthday. It is a data point in a much larger story, and that story is still being written. Subscribe, stay, because the next chapter is going to be interesting. Now back to the birthday. Because there is a twist inside this whole celebration that most people completely walked past. The photos were stunning. That is established, documented, and universally agreed upon across fandoms that don't even agree on anything else. The reaction was immediate and chaotic in the way only genuinely surprising content can be. But here is what makes it more than just attractive photos. Bad Bunny turns 32 at the exact midpoint of what appears to be the most intentional expansion phase of his career. Most artists at 32 are either consolidating, protecting what they've built, playing it safe, making commercially reliable decisions, or they are visibly trying to stay relevant in ways that are slightly painful to watch. Bad Bunny at 32 is doing neither. He is expanding, actively, into new markets, new conversations, new cultural spaces. Tokyo and the Spotify Billions Club Live, the Lisa sighting and what it might mean, the Super Bowl legacy still actively reverberating through the industry, 3 Grammys sitting somewhere in a house in Puerto Rico, and a birthday photo shoot that broke timelines globally. This is not someone wrapping up. This is someone warming up. Here is the honest, unfiltered version of what 32 looks like for Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio. It looks like a man who has spent his entire career being told what he couldn't do, which language to sing in, which genre had a ceiling, which stages were meant for him and which weren't, and has responded to every single one of those limitations by going exactly where they said he couldn't go and thriving there. 3 Grammys in a year, a seated protest at a playoff game seen by millions. the first primarily Spanish Super Bowl halftime show in history, a Tokyo concert that turned into a cultural event, and birthday photos that the internet will be referencing years from now. That is not luck. That is not an algorithm trick. That is someone who built something enormous and real, year by year, refusal by refusal, on their own terms and in their own language. And at 32, he's just getting started. So, happy birthday to the man who has spent 32 years becoming exactly who he decided to be, and has somehow managed to make the whole process look both effortless and devastatingly attractive. The year he just had would have been a career peak for almost anyone else in the industry. For Bad Bunny, it was just the warm-up. And if watching this made you see his birthday differently, if it shifted from celebrity posts good photos to this is a man in the middle of something historic, then subscribe to this channel before you leave, because this story is not finished, not even close, and you are going to want to be here for what comes next.